Hey, this is Steven from Legit PC, and today we're going to be going over another theoretical PC build. This particular build is more centered towards a workstation, and a workstation that is mainly for encoding and everything that's less demanding than encoding. So encoding would be people that are making like indie movies, right? They're an indie filmmaker, they're doing YouTube stuff, montages, all that kind of things. So that particular one is very CPU intensive, that particular workflow. And you definitely need, depending on your program, most of them are GPU accelerated. So some programs utilize OpenGL, some programs utilize OpenGL as well as CUDA. The ones that I know for sure are something like Sony Vegas and Premiere, as well as After Effects, and a lot of Adobe stuff uses that. So we're gonna go ahead and as well as I'll explain that later. But so this particular build for encoding, what I would suggest is to have depends on what type of encoding you want to do, or how many encoding streams you want to be doing at one time. So for this particular build, it's going to be this is just a base, right? So what I'm setting up here is something that you could expand on to increase your speed. But the parts that you cannot replace easily and you would have to swap out are, the best in their class. So this is going to be an ATX, a standard ATX build, and we're going to be using 1150 and we're going to be using a Xeon, right? So this is the Haswell 3.3 gigahertz 1150 80 watt quad core. This is not the highest version of the Xeon. This is an E3 1230 V3. This particular one is the lowest CPU in the Xeon class of the Haswell chipset that will run hyperthreading. So a lot of the applications that do encoding have the hyperthreading support from Intel. So we have only 4 cores here. This is a quad core, but you have another 4 threads, one extra one per core. So now you have 8 total threads. So now this is definitely going to chew through anything you want, and this is high enough that you probably won't have to replace it, so you don't have to worry about that. And then here we have 8 gigabytes of 240 2x4 dual channel, and we have 2 of those here at $100 a piece, and it is I believe it is latency 9. So this is really, really good stuff here. The reason why you want so much RAM for encoding is that when you're previewing and rendering your live stream, the preview, right? The preview of your video in your software like Sony Vegas or Premiere or After Effects, you want to have that RAM density to store all that information on your RAM to make it very quick to go through, speeding up your workflow. So for storage, actually let's go to motherboard. So motherboard, we just have the Asus Maximus. You could choose different ones here. The reason why I chose, this here is wrong. Should be only one. The reason, that should definitely drop the price. Okay, there we go. So the reason why I would suggest this one is that some of the other ones on, as far as ATX, only have 3 PCI Express slots. Or actually, sorry, only have 2. 2 PCI Express slots, have a whole bunch of garbage slots like PCI 1X, just a PCI 16X, not even an Express slot. So this one doesn't have as much of the garbage, so you use up less of your case. The space in between cards would be the same. I mean, what would be sort of close, but it doesn't have any of that other room in there to increase, for chips that you probably won't even use on a workstation, not unless you're running some sort of SSD in a PCI slot. And we have just a standard Corsair Obsidian 750D. You could definitely get a cheaper one than this. This is really expensive. You could go, but this is a really nice case. It's definitely good for most of the Obsidian cases I find would really be beneficial for people that are doing encoding and video editing, because a lot of them have the hot swap SSD drive base. So I looked through a Corsair version to find one that you're looking for with a hard drive swap bay or something at the top where you could swap in an SSD and then swap it out. So for the video card, you want to go high on the video card range. So this right here is maxed out. This is currently the largest in the 7 series that is out. There has been others released like the Super Titan and the 790, but they're not on the market yet. And the reason why I went with the Zotac is because this has the highest core clock and the highest boost clock. The thing is that usually when you're rendering, your video card will not push into the boost clock. So you need the highest core clock. And depending on what card you get, you might be able to change the core clock, but most of the time you're only able to change the boost clock, which in the case of encoding does not help you too much because usually it doesn't go into boost. It'll stay on that core clock. So you want that high core clock. And we're going for the cards that are in the $500 range. So here you get $440 instant, so it's $520, which is right there. Now, why would I have 2 PCI Express slots for if I'm only going to run one card, as well as having a 860 watt power supply? That's for expansion. So why would I have 2 cards for, even though most programs like Sony Vegas, Premiere, and After Effects, besides mostly After Effects, why they would they don't really support SLI, right? But what you could do is you could run 2 instances of the I believe you could do this. I haven't tried it yet, but you could run 2 instances of the program and half out your resources. So let's say you're doing some sort of videos like I am, and you have to push out 30-minute videos with 30 megabytes per second out and encode them, but you don't want to spend 6 hours a piece doing them. What you could do is you could go and have 2 saved profiles in your editing software. One that uses your first card, your first 780, and then if you need a 780 later and you're doing work such as this, you could buy another 780 and have the other instance of the software going towards that one, as well as setting your affinity. So you open both software side by side, and you set your affinity from one to only use 4 out of the 8 threads, and the other one to use the other 4 out of 8 threads. So, and also sorry about before. It's two threads per core, so you get 8. So 4, yeah. So I would separate it out. So have two cores doing each, right? And so you could do 2 at the same time. So you could do 2 encodes at the same time with 2 separated CUDA accelerated cards working on each separately. As well as, of course, you could tell from this would be a seriously beast gaming machine, even if you want to do gaming or have a really good capture quality. If you want to do a capture card or fraps or anything like that, really fast processor. It would tear up fraps. You might drop some frames, but then if you have 2 cards in there that are ready for SLI, then you should be good to go. Of course, when you go into Premiere and Sony Vegas and stuff like that, usually you have to turn off SLI because it's not compatible and it could cause stability issues. So you just turn it off, and then, like I said, you could run 2 instances, one with each card. But if you're only running one instance, I would stick with the 780. This build would be good for people that are even getting paid to do contracting work, who don't belong to a company that pays for their machines. Someone who wants to do contract work for some sort of hot YouTube channel that they get money for, and then they contract work out for you. Here's your machine to do that kind of work fast in order to increase what you get per hour because you're doing things faster than normal. So last but not least, I have the 120 gig SSD, and this is a really, really good deal, the Kingston. This is probably what I would even put in my machine, in my workstation, which would be a similar build to this, because it really drops that price down. It's less than $1 per gig in an SSD, which is really, really good. So so you got high memory density, you got quick storage. Of course, if you want, you'll probably need another hard drive, just a standard slow hard drive or a hot swap SSD that you'll store all your data on. But this will be your OS, your cache file, or you can have another hard drive for your cache file for your programs, as well as all your utilities on this here, and then something else to store your data on. Now, as I said before, this is encoding, so it could do anything below that, such as doing anything 3D, 3D modeling or painting or programming, any kind of thing like that, running multiple games at the same time, it'll all be done under this. You could do anything with this platform here. Now the only thing you would scale is you probably would only need one PCI slot, so you go a micro ATX, you could go a smaller ATX case. You don't have to go the full tower. You could go a mid-tower ATX case. And you could probably go with less RAM, so I'd only go down to 8 gigs instead of 16 gigs. But I would stay with this guy here, and then probably drop down this to a 650 watt. So I'll have another series, another video showing the low for all the workstations for the other types of workflows. But this is mainly for encoding, which is the highest of the high. This is for the high intensity video and processor heavy work to do on this type of encoding or rendering of 3D videos or anything like that. Rendering or encoding, all this huge workflow here. So you need a pretty big machine to do that. Now, if you're going to need 2 cards, like I suggested, if you're going to need 2 780s, then you're definitely getting pretty deep there. And then you might bottleneck those cards with only running 2 processors, four threads for each, separating the affinity out and only dedicating 2 processors to each. You might have problems with that. Not completely sure. It definitely slows something down, but this will definitely tear up any single encoding. But is it worth having a 780 for a single encoding? I'm not quite sure. So anyways, so this is basically what you would start off with, and you just add stuff as you go. The case is definitely big enough to do whatever you want with it, and to keep expanding it to what you need. And I'll have some cheaper builds later on for different kinds of workstation, different kinds of workstation workflows. And because this just the base to build on is $1,600, and then you have shipping and tax, so it's definitely a big deal. So if you like this one and you want to put some comments in and let me know what you think and what you would change, and if you're thinking about buying something like this, let me know in the comments. And if this isn't the build for you, I will definitely have some more builds, and the next one might be for you. So let me know in the comments, and I'll try to do my best to get you what I would suggest for that type of job. So this has been Steven from Legit PC, and this is my general workstation encoding build here. And I would like to thank you for watching my videos. If you like my videos, please subscribe for more videos like it, and stay tuned for more builds. Thanks for watching.